What is up, Soul Fam? It's Sundial from Substance Overstar, and welcome to a new video. Okay, so how has everyone been over the last 2 weeks? I know it's been a minute since I've done a video. I feel like I've been saying that a lot recently. I do try and do one video every week, and I feel like I've been pretty consistent with that. But last week I got hit with another cold. It's now the second cold that I've had over this winter period. And so I had to take it really easy last week. And I'm still not 100% yet, but the last couple of days I've been feeling a lot better and just been playing catch up on everything that I wasn't able to do last week for being ill. And you know, with colds, when you have a cold nowadays, it's like you can't even go outside because everybody's so COVID conscious that they just think that you're going to kill them just if you breathe in their direction. So I didn't want to go outside until I was, you know, at least at the point where I'm not coughing and spluttering like every 5 minutes. But yes, what was I going to say? So quite a lot been happening. All good things, I mean, in my opinion. Obviously not all good things, you know, we obviously know the situation in Ukraine is quite fucked up, and I've been praying for people in Ukraine and the surrounding areas. So let's just all have a moment of silence. Feel like that would be appropriate? Have a moment of silence and a little prayer for peace. Okay. I'm not going to speak on that whole situation because I haven't really felt into it. But I do feel like the energies recently have been really calling me personally to really just focus on myself rather than what's happening out there. And I think it's also because partly I've done so much work on healing my emotional body. I don't know if I mentioned in previous videos, but I worked with a healer called Amelia, who's the Soul Embodiment Catalyst on Instagram, and she does a system which is very similar to emotion code, but it has some slight differences. It's not exactly the same, where she basically uses muscle testing to kind of find trapped emotions in different parts of your physical body and releases them over, you know, the decades that you've been holding on to them. She finds the origin point where they got embedded and then releases them all the way through. And so it really, really calms your body down, your nervous system down. So ever since working with her, I booked like 10 sessions. I it was like a 3-month package that I did at the end of last year, and since then I found myself just experiencing so much less anxiety about everything. Before that I was constantly in a state of hyper arousal about, oh my god, what's happening in the world, when are people going to wake up, and and now I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to focus on myself and my own contribution to the collective. And it's given me this ability to have a laser sharp focus on exactly what I need to get done without constantly checking out there. Like, I had this constant like dopamine addiction where I was constantly checking my phone all the time just to see, you know, who's messaged me, has anybody sent me anything, what's happening on Facebook, what's happening out there. And it's a lot of this is to do with being completely dysregulated, emotionally dysregulated, because you don't feel safe in your own body. So now I actually feel so safe and so comfortable in my own body that I don't need to keep on checking what's happening out there. All I need to focus on is what am I here to bring in. So it's really helped me with that. So if anybody's kind of looking for a modality like that, it's actually a beautiful modality in that it doesn't really require any work on your part in the actual session. Obviously there's integration that needs to take place afterwards, and then you obviously have to do your work with whatever comes up. It's not a modality that I would recommend to anybody who hasn't done any kind of embodiment work or energy healing or breath work. It's for people who've kind of already worked on themselves a lot and still have, you know, who want to go a little bit deeper. Because I did recommend it to like 1 or 2 friends that hadn't done, who weren't familiar with any of this type of work, and they had really, really bad emotional purging. And were scared to do it again. So I would say I would only recommend it if you've already done, you know, a lot of embodiment and energy healing, and then maybe try Amelia's work just to go in even deeper. So for me it was great. Like I had barely any integration. Like I had barely any purging. I think only like there were only 2 sessions where I had purging. The rest of the time it was very, you know, graceful, very easy. So generally I've just been in the process of just dropping all this old density and this old story of, you know, what the enemy is doing, because I've just come to realize that the enemy's not that powerful. Like, yes, okay, they've done really fucked up things and they are doing fucked up things in the world. And I don't want to be like one of these false light people who's like, oh, the war's already won, because I just don't believe that. Like, I don't believe that I believe we're on the home stretch. I believe that we're on the home stretch and their timeline is kind of fizzling out and they're losing their power. That's why they're getting so insane. And showing themselves, and people are waking up. Like, I can just see that people are waking up, and so I've just been being like, you know, just taking a rest, like I said in my last video, just having a break, sleeping a lot more, and dropping all density in my own life. So that's like physical density from my body. I've been doing a lot of cleanses, you know, detoxes, you know, like fasting, or, you know, enemas, niacin, supplementation with niacin, just like small little gentle cleanses, juice, you know, drinking vegetable juices every day, nothing too aggressive, but just really gently detoxing my temple, and then also detoxing my home and my wardrobes, and letting go of like all the remnants of this past life that I used to live. I feel like the whole pandemic is kind of like pressed a reset button on all of us and kind of birthed us into this new version of ourselves, and it definitely has with me. Like, I felt like before I was always waiting to become this person. I was always waiting for the right time to step up into this role. I knew I was always going to be this person. I knew I was always going to be doing this work, but I had so many blocks and so many fears before the pandemic about doing it. You know, I just thought that I was too young, which is bullshit. I'm not. I'm 36, which is, you know, I think more than old enough to be doing this work. I thought that people were not going to take me seriously. I mean, people are not going to take you seriously there's always going to be some people who don't take you seriously, and that's totally fine. Then there's going to be others who are your soulmate clients who are going to totally resonate and going to not just resonate with what you're saying, but need your medicine. Whatever it is that you do, whether it's, you know, through the spoken word, or whether it's a modality that you use, or whatever it is. Yeah, and just, you know, that people were going to judge me, be like, who does she think she is, blah, blah, blah. So I've just dropped all of that now. I just don't care. I really don't care. Not saying that I don't care at all about, like, you know, I'm accountable, like, and there are areas where I always want to be, like, in integrity. But I don't worry about people judging me when I know that I'm in my authentic truth and doing what I believe God has assigned of me. So let's have a sip of the tea. Okay, so I've got this really gorgeous, like, cold and flu herbal remedy that my friend Heidi, who recently came to stay with me, left here. Okay, apologies, my battery just died, so I just went and charged it. And one thing I did see on Facebook, everybody's going on about, obviously, the situation in Ukraine as it just broke today. One thing I did see was somebody kind of made an interesting theory about, well, it wasn't even theory, he presented it as fact, that Putin is going into Ukraine to kind of purge any remaining deep state elements, so it's kind of a coup operation. So that's an interesting theory. Don't know if it's true or not, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. Let's see how this plays out. But I've just learned through many years of experience that whatever they're telling us is probably not the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and probably is not even any truth at all. So yeah, let's just see what happens. Okay, so what did I want to talk about? So the themes that I'm noticing coming up around this portal, this 22-22, are obviously the main kind of collective theme of this portal is the Chrysophia kind of unifying, and everything that is not contained and sanctified within that union is dropping out. So, you know, all these distortions and toxic relationships and things that we've excused, you know, that kind of embody this kind of wounded masculine, wounded feminine energy are kind of being exposed as we heal them. And I'm definitely seeing that is true, because the last 2 weeks I've just noticed a common theme coming up. Even as much as you want to kind of avoid everything that's going on in the world politically, let's say even just watching Netflix, what's been trending on Netflix, Tinder Swindler, #1 in the UK, Inventing Anna. Okay, the whole Fire Festival documentary, which is, you know, a couple of years old, but was referenced in the Inventing Anna documentary, is also, you know, I think it was at one point was in the top 10 in the UK on Netflix. And then just yesterday, Bentinho Massaro, hashtag Bentinho Massaro sucks, is trending now on Instagram as a bunch of whistleblowers who escaped his cult. I say cult because alleged cult, you know, I don't know, I wasn't there, are now basically blowing the whistle on his abusive practices. So the theme is kind of this whole narcissistic, sociopathy, megalomaniac tendencies being exposed, also with politically what's been happening with Canada, with Trudeau showing his true colours and looking exactly like Fidel Castro. Y'all really need to look up some pictures of Fidel Castro and what he used to look like as a young man, and the resemblance is uncanny. But yeah, it's just interesting because, you know, Trudeau is a really interesting case in point because, you know, when he first came out, like, everybody loved him. I thought he was great. I thought the things that he was saying were just wonderful. He was so woke, and this was when woke was like a little bit edgy and not, you know, the shit show that it's now become. You know, he was handsome and charming and well-dressed, and he had a diverse cabinet, and he was saying all the right things about how leaders and political leaders need to listen to their not their subjects, obviously I don't want to use the word subjects, but the people. They need to, that they must serve the people, and if the people aren't happy, and if the people are for whatever reason rising up, then leaders need to take a look at what they're doing wrong. So this was interesting because someone on Instagram sent me this really, you know, not funny, but just interesting juxtaposed video that someone had made of the truckers' convoy, the Freedom Convoy in Canada, and then also juxtaposed against, you know, scenes of police brutality in Canada. And then the voiceover was Trudeau saying all this stuff. I shared it on my Instagram like 2 days ago, and it was just fantastic. It was just like, what happened? What happened, Justin? You were such a nice guy. And it's almost like you become what you fight. You become what you hate. There's the same thing with the woke culture. You know, when woke culture first came about, it was just like, we need to destroy this old vanguard. We need to come in and bring in a new kind of, there's going to be a new paradigm shift. And they've just become exactly what they criticised. So people need to be careful that you don't become exactly what you hate. But yeah, with, you know, the Tinder Swindler, you know, the themes around narcissism and sociopathy are really, really, it's a very extreme example. And that obviously people have been having a very mixed response, you know, everything from victim blaming to, you know, empathy. And, you know, I kind of take a position that's somewhere in the middle, which is, you know, when you become victim to narcissistic abuse, narcissists have no power over anyone without enablers, flying monkeys, and obviously the codependents that they target. they would be nothing, and they would be no one, and they wouldn't be able to do what they do. So, you know, I'm not saying that it's anybody's fault if they were narcissistically abused or if they were targeted by a sociopath or anything like that, okay? I've been through it myself. And as somebody who's been through it and has now come out of it and has not been targeted again, the way that I was able to heal from it, in a way, because I went through cycles of this repeated, just kept on happening. And the way that I was able to break the cycle was by acknowledging the part that I was playing in it, and how I was co-creating this reality for myself, how I was on a subconscious level, obviously not on a conscious level. Sometimes it is conscious, but you're so trauma bonded that you don't know how to get out of it. On a subconscious level, that I was consenting to it. Because narcissists will look at exactly where your pain points are, and where your traumas are, and where the chinks in your armor, and what you're missing in your life, and they will become that, or they are that already. Maybe they embody that, and that's why you're attracted to them. You know, they have this kind of you know, this gravitas, this self-belief, this self-esteem. They're living large, whatever it is. You know, and there are different types of narcissists. You know, it's not just about the person who has like grandiose, you know, visions and all these shiny objects, like with the Tinder Swindler. You know, I'm sure a lot of people in this community have encountered spiritual narcissists, like in the Bentinho Massaro case, where it's, you know, this person that's so spiritual, and they're here to save the world, and they're here for the ascension of humanity, and they're such a good person, or like a charitable, like an altruistic narcissist. The person is so good, and they do so much for everyone else, and they're doing so much for you, and they do so much for the world, and you need to be like them. If only you could be more like them. It's just, it exposes those areas where you don't feel like you're good enough, like you need to be more like that. And I think with the Tinder Swindler, the one thing that really hit me the most, was, you know, the girlfriend in particular. I'm going to speak more to the girlfriend rather than the friend, Pernilla, because I think the Pernilla is a little bit more of a complicated case, because she was only friends with him. She wasn't really his girlfriend. But how her model of love was watching Disney, okay? And now I've mentioned Disney princess programming before. What a lot of people don't realise about Disney is Disney uses a lot of MK Ultra tactics. You know, it's kind of a way of like love bombing a child or a young girl from like a very young age, with this whole idea that your prince is out there and he's going to come rescue you, and you're this damsel in distress. And that is not how it actually works in Hyros Gamos, in the Divine Union, in the true organic creation codex. The masculine and feminine archetypes were not this. It was not this heroic white knight that's going to come save this damsel in distress. It's a wounded feminine archetype. The divine feminine is integrated with her own masculine energy, okay? She has her own power, her own authority. She has self-esteem. She has boundaries. She trusts the wisdom of her body. She trusts when things are a little bit, you know, when things seem a little bit weird, okay? She doesn't, you know, it's the same with like the Bentinho Massaro thing. Okay, so I've just been listening to the podcasts on It's a Bit Culty podcast, I think, and it's a podcast by two former members of the Nexium sex cult. I don't know if you guys must know about the Nexium sex cult. I'm not even going to get into it. You can just go research that. But that was kind of like a really big, high-profile case of a sex cult where they were trafficking women, and there was the Alison Mack from Smallville was kind of involved in that. It was kind of a big deal. So they were part of the Nexium sex cult. So they started this podcast talking about cults, and particularly spiritual cults. Well, cults generally do have like a spiritual or a religious bent to them. Yeah, and the whole Bentinho thing was interesting to me because it was all about not trusting your own body, but trusting the wisdom, instead of trusting this. I'm so much about the body and trusting the wisdom of your own body and trusting your own intuition. That's the work that I do with my clients. I bring them back to themselves. Okay, this Bentinho guy, it was all about trusting the wisdom of him or his other followers, and not trusting your own inner compass and not having your own boundaries. It's just despicable. It's absolutely despicable. And I can see why people got sucked in, because, you know, the mission that they have of like wanting to, you know, awaken humanity and build an enlightened society and, you know, all of that stuff is beautiful. And, you know, I feel like especially a lot of us who are very, you know, highly coded and know that we're here for a deeper purpose other than just to pay bills and, you know, and then die, like live your best life and then die. We know that we're here for a deeper purpose, and we know that Earth isn't actually, I don't want to say it's not our home, but we don't feel fully at home here, because we know that shit's fucked up here and this is not like how things are supposed to be. That they're like, we have this deep ancient remembrance of, you know, being somewhere where things did happen according to universal laws and where universal laws were respected. Unlike on this planet, they're not respected on this planet, and that's why we're suffering so many karmic consequences. So, where was I going? What was I going to say? Oh, I forgot. Let me just tune in. What was I going to say? Yeah, so for us, this whole idea of we're here to awaken humanity, we're here to build this enlightened society and a new earth and all of that stuff. It's really magnetic, because we feel this in our bones that that's what we're here to do. Okay, so when you've got somebody that's talking all that talk, but yet they have so many other distortions, you're still going to be like, because up until this point there's been so few people who have actually been doing this work, because it hasn't actually been that safe for us to do this work, because we've just been called crazy. And, you know, it's not, you know, dark forces have had too much power, unfortunately. The satanic system, and, you know, most normies who'd be watching this will have no clue what I mean when I say the satanic system. But watch my video, I'm going to link it, on the 4 pillars of Satanism, and understand what those 4 pillars are, and then you will see that Satanism has been running rampant throughout mainstream society without people even realizing it, not even understanding that they're actually following satanic or Luciferian principles. Now, I would say with Bentinho and his cult of followers, those were definitely much more Luciferian principles than satanic principles. Luciferianism is kind of way, you know, Satanism is like very deeply inverted and all about service to self, and Luciferianism is kind of a bit more lofty and uses higher kind of creational codes, but that only go up to 10D. There's very little talk about God in Luciferianism. You won't see people talking about God. You definitely won't see them talking about Christ. But I think that may start to change now that God is becoming more popular and is being talked about more openly, and Christ is being talked about more openly. And people are, you know, starting to wake up to these concepts and what it actually means. You know, anybody who's kind of just still talking about the universe and, you know, all of that, and not sourcing directly, you know, doing rituals or energy work and not sourcing directly to God, to Christ, or to guides that serve, you know, that are on the Christ mission, the Sophia Christ mission. So, you know, when I do energy work with clients, I will work with different guides who are, you know, mainly I work with Mother, Father, God. But I do also work with different guides. So King Arthur is one that comes up a lot. I've had Kuan Yin come in a lot. Yeshua has come in a lot. Magdalene, Isis, Oracles of Avalon came up recently. Melchizedek, Knights, so the Disciples of Christ, and the Emerald Order, the Knights of Camelot. So all of these were serving the Grail mission in restoring these organic codexes of divine feminine, divine masculine in sacred union, which is the ascension pathway back to God, and grounding that into the planet, you know, according to God's laws, the universal laws of, you know, do no harm and take no shit also, which is trusting your own intuition and your own divine sovereignty as a child under God, and not giving your power away to false leaders, because that's a theme that's coming up a lot as well, these false leaders. Any leader that is not leading you back to yourself and your own sovereignty is a false leader. So all of this is being exposed, this kind of wounded masculine energy, this toxic masculinity, this megalomaniac, sociopathic, narcissistic fraudsters who are all using what has worked on this planet for a long time. You know, if you wanted to climb up the ranks within the feudalistic hierarchy that is based on inverted principles, you had to be narcissistic. And this is why the Inventing Anna documentary was so interesting, and why she split opinions so much. Because on one hand, a lot of what she did was very, very wrong, but on the other hand, a lot of people really support her, especially as a woman, because she's embodying this toxic masculine energy. And they're just like, well, because we've been in wounded feminine for so long and we've been encouraged to be that way, that when we flip back to the other side, which is natural when you're on a Hyros Gamos journey, that you will kind of go back and forth. It will be like, you know, this is the Hyros Gamos, this is the, what's the word? The caduceus. Okay, it's the two serpents that move up the spinal gateway and then activate the wings at the top, which are the wings in your light body, which connect to your thymus gland, that is your union template, your Christophia template. So when you've been in wounded feminine for so long, when you heal it, you'll swing into wounded masculine. So, you know, this Inventing Anna was kind of celebrated for, you know, embodying those toxic masculine qualities of kind of just faking it till you make it, and just scamming people, and living large, and using money to kind of pull people in and to control people, and to buy their obedience, their influence, you know, all of that stuff. And in a lot of ways, what she's doing was not too dissimilar from just how the banking system operates in the first place, you know. Like, that's kind of how it, like, the fact that she kind of exposed the entire system for being what it is. You know, this whole idea that, because ultimately, in order to make an idea work, whatever business it is, whether it's going to be the next Soho House or any other kind of business, you need a really good idea, and you need sweat equity to carry it out, and you need an excellent team who all have, you know, it's about the knowledge. That is the wealth, okay? That's how you create the wealth. It's through the knowledge, the experience, the sweat equity, and the idea, okay? Now, she's obviously needed, and you need the investment, okay? You need the investment. So she was trying to secure the investment by pretending that she had all this money in the background. She didn't necessarily even need the money in the background if she got the investment and if she made it work. She just believed in herself so much that she was going to make it work. So on that level, I kind of admire her, because she had enough balls to kind of go for it and have that self-belief to make it happen. And she would have almost, I think she would have almost done it if she hadn't been caught when she did. And a lot of the people that are supporting her on Instagram are saying, girl, just do a crowdfunder, because you obviously have what it takes to make this thing happen. But obviously, it was her lies that were the problem. But it's not like, you know, the whole banking system doesn't do that anyway. You know, when they give you a loan, a lot of the time that loan isn't backed by anything. Like, if everybody were to do a run on the bank tomorrow and to withdraw all their money, their electronic digital money, in actual fiat currency, the entire economy would collapse, because there isn't enough fiat currency to actually back up the electronic money that is sitting in everyone's accounts. And, you know, when we had the gold standard, if everybody were to actually cash in their fiat for gold, there would also not be enough gold reserves to back up all the fiat that was circulating. So they're running a pyramid scheme. That's what it is. So, you know, just like the Tinder Swindler was running this kind of Ponzi scheme where he was drawing these women in, showing them this luxury life, and then getting them to pay for the next woman that he would then draw in, and then get her to pay for the luxury life. I mean, I see a lot of parallels with how our whole banking system has operated, which is why we need, you know, a financial reset very soon. I'm sure anyone who received their energy bills this month will agree. A lot of that is, you know, yes, partly to do with the situation in, you know, Russia, Ukraine, but a lot of it is also to do with the fact that fiat currency is declining by the day. So, and we don't need their great reset, okay? Whatever they're trying to do with this whole grand plan that they've been planning for God knows how long. We need our own financial reset. So however we do that, you know, we need to bash our heads together and kind of figure it out. Some people think that crypto and specifically Bitcoin is the answer. Maybe. So, yes, what was I saying? Yeah, so coming back to the whole, you know, the narcissism and this toxic masculinity and these people that have abused others for so long is now kind of coming to the surface as a theme so that the collective can clear it. Because awareness is the first step to actually healing it. Knowing what to spot and what to look out for is how we arm ourselves in future to then no longer becoming a match to these kinds of circumstances, whether it's a spiritual narcissist like Bentinho, or whether it's somebody who's, you know, just pretending to be a billionaire, or whether it's, you know, the narcissists in government or in the banking industry. Not saying that everyone who works in the banking industry is a narcissist. I'm just saying that the system is kind of designed that way. So what is the next step? Because, you know, y'all know that we're the advanced class here, so we already are aware of these concepts, and we've already gone beyond that. So the next step is actually acknowledging that everything is dual and the universe is always balancing itself. So if you've got a wounded masculine here or a narcissist here, how are they even allowed to operate? How are they even able to function? It's because they're being fed by this wounded feminine energy that is self-sacrificing, that is people-pleasing, that is, you know, seeking validation, and that is not in her power, that is not trusting her own inner wisdom and her own inner authority. So healing the wounded feminine within the self, and by extension within the collective, is the medicine that we so badly need at this time. And that is the work that is being done as people start to heal themselves and stop giving their power away to these false leaders. So this is part of the collective shift that is happening as we move into personal sovereignty. So yeah, it's just beautiful to witness. I am just loving being here at this time, because it's just so exciting to see what's happening with everybody and seeing how much we're all growing and how much we're all healing. And yes, it's fine to kind of point the finger and go, these people are really bad, that, you know, they're narcissists and these people who take it. And yes, they totally are. But let's stop worrying about them, you know? They're only as powerful as we allow them to be. Let's tend to our own inner garden and empower ourselves so that we're no longer a match to these people. Let's come into unification with ourselves. How do we do that? There are many techniques. In my course, Reclaim Your Crown, that is the work that we do. We bring ourselves back into balance. We heal the wounded feminine on the left side and the wounded masculine on the right side. And we use various embodiment techniques to kind of clear all those distortions out and to create a single column of light eventually. We work up to that. It's a 10-step process, so it's level 1 Kriya Yoga. Level 2 will be coming soon. I'll be doing my training for that later in this year. So really excited about that. Yes, another way is to just drop the programming. Drop out the programming. Be mindful of what are you consuming. Everything that we consume affects our consciousness. So if you're watching trash on TV, like Disney, which obviously is not your fault. If you were fed Disney at a young age, that is not your fault. And if you're feeding Disney to your children, particularly your young girls, be careful that it is affecting their consciousness and could set them up in later life for kind of negative templating around masculine and feminine energies and, you know, in their relationships. I'm not saying don't let them watch it at all. I understand parenting is not an easy job, but just be conscious of that it's not helping them. So make sure that you're also, you know, putting them in front of content that is inspiring, that shows women and men in healthy relationships, you know, that you model those things to them. You know, what kind of TV are you watching? Is the TV just full of people who are just having really toxic, dramatic, you know, relationships? Is it enabling abuse? All of that stuff. Like, if you're just concerned, if you're looking at where your own distortions are, and it's not so much about the children that you're raising, look at where those distortions came from. So one of the things that I do with clients is timeline repair. So, you know, they may come to me with a specific problem. It might be something to do with a relationship. You know, they may be having some issues with their relationship. We'll go into the quantum field and we'll open it up, and I'll get them to travel to a memory, a past memory, okay? And this is where again it goes back to, with my work, I get you to trust your own inner authority, okay? I don't open up the quantum field and just read it and tell you what I think, okay? Because I want you to be able to make your own decisions. So I get my clients to read the quantum field themselves. We both do the work together. So we open up the field and we say, okay, how you're feeling in this situation that you know, whatever it is that you've come to me for. Could be a work issue, but usually it's relationship focused. But, you know, if you've got imbalances in your masculine and feminine energy, it affects everything. It affects your relationships and your provision, your money, your structure, you know, everything. So let's go to the first instance where you felt like this. And it will always, like, okay, at first it doesn't make sense to them, you know, I just tell them, just trust what you're shown, okay? The first thing that pops into your head. And what happens is they'll go into a memory, and obviously they know what it is. Your subconscious always knows what it is. And they'll go into the memory, and then suddenly the memory will open up. And they'll start to remember more details around the context of what happened here, and why this has now caused the belief system that is causing them to loop in this timeline that they're now in, which they know is not their highest timeline. So then we'll travel to different memories along that same timeline, heal it, and then collapse out the timeline. So that's one of the core things that I do, is this kind of timeline repair work. And the reason why is because a lot of what's going on within your consciousness and your belief systems about, you know, how you need to show up or how others need to show up for you was embedded in, you know, early childhood. Sometimes it can be past life stuff, but, you know, just dealing with this lifetime, we can heal so much. So, you know, it will sometimes be such simple things like something that somebody said to you at school that implanted a belief system that is now causing you to loop for years in unhealthy relationships just because of one comment that someone made. Sometimes it is a deep trauma, like, you know, a parent might have cheated on the other parent, and now that causes you to keep on choosing partners that cheat because you need to heal that, because that implanted a belief system that men or women always cheat. But sometimes it's really a small thing. It's just, you know, something that someone said, you know, a flippant comment that somebody said, and their child absorbed it, because children are just like sponges. So we can rewire all of this stuff and kind of align you with our higher timeline just by going in, finding the belief system and go, I didn't need to attach to that story anymore. I can drop that now because it's not true. So yes, it's all about trusting your inner authority and about transforming those belief systems that are causing you to, you know, loop in false timelines and are causing you to, like, not be on your highest timeline. So yes, I think that's all I want to say for now. I was going to talk for longer just because it's you know, just because I missed the video last week, so I kind of feel like I should make up for it. But, you know, now I'm just rambling, and I don't think that that's a good idea. So I'll just hopefully not take 2 weeks till the next one. But, yes. thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye.